Now it's time to do some writing on here. Now I will use some colors in this, but for this first one, I'm just going to start with black. So you have probably done some amount of note reading if you're watching this video. I don't imagine anybody watching this video is 100% new to note reading, but we're going to go through the major note values that you'll see in any music book. The first one we're going to do is just called a whole note, and a whole note is just one big circle, like so. It takes up a whole measure when you're in 4/4 time. We'll talk about time signatures another day, but because it takes up a whole measure, we call it a whole note. And we're going to label this. And when we talk about a whole note, we spell it a little bit funny. There's a W on the beginning of it. It's spelled W-H-O-L-E. Whole note. N-O-T-E. Okay? That gets 4 beats. And you don't need to label that here because we're going to do that in just a moment somewhere else. Now, any of my students will attest I love my 4-color pen, so I'm going to be using that for parts of this. The next kind of note value that you might see is called a half note, and this is where your organization lines come in. I know these are hard to see on the video. Right here, right here, right here, you can see in your booklet, and I can see on mine, there's a line, a line, and a line, and that's going to help us evenly space things, okay? So let's see. I think purple is what I want for this. So we're going to be drawing half notes. Let's write the term half note first. It's spelled H-A-L-F. Man, some of these words are spelled so funny. And then note. And we're going to have 2 of them, so notes. Now half notes, we're going to put 1 in this column, then we're going to skip a column, then we're going to put 1 in this column. Half notes get 2 beats. This one got 4 beats. These get 2 beats. They're called half notes because they're half as long as a whole note. If you take a 4-beat note, a whole note, 1, 2, 3, 4 in one, and you divide it in half, then you have a 2-beat note and a 2-beat note. That is why that is called a half note. So here's what it looks like. It is an open note head and a line like so. Now sometimes you'll see them upside down, but it means the same thing. Skip this column and draw another one here. Okay, so half notes look like this. They get 2 beats. Time to add the next thing. Time for me to switch colors, don't you think? I think I'll use green for this one. So the next kind of note is actually one that people see usually first when they're learning to read notes. It's called a quarter note. And we'll talk more about why in just a moment. Let's spell it first. Quarter is spelled Q-U-A-R-T-E-R. And we're going to have more than one of them, so notes, N-O-T-E-S. Now, quarter notes, quarter is another way of saying 1/4 of something. So we had a whole note that was 4 beats in one note. When we divided that in half, each of those was 2 beats. And when we divide it in fourths, each of them is 1 beat. A 1-beat note, we're going to fit 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. So use your organization lines to keep it tidy. And this is going to become important when you put it in your book. Okay, so a quarter note has a filled in note head. So draw your circle and then color it in. It's a little messier than I meant to be, but that's okay. And then it has a stem on it, like so. And we need 1 in each column. So go ahead and add 1 in each column. Draw your circle, color it in, and then a stem. You hear me using these terms. The head of the note's that circle part. The stem is the stick part. All right, another circle. And then we need 1 more. If you had a measure, you could fit 1 whole note in it, or 2 half notes, or 4 quarter notes. Okay. All right, on to the next kind of note. if you already know fractions, you know that if you divide a quarter, then you get 8. So the next thing is called an eighth note. And let's label it first. E-I-G-H-T-H, eighth. That's also spelled so interestingly, isn't it? And then notes, N-O-T-E-S. Now we still have our 4 columns, but now we have to fit 2 note heads in each one of those, okay? So we're gonna draw carefully 2 note heads, color them in. Each of them gets its own stem, and then we have a new bit to put on the note called a beam, and that beam goes right across the top like so and connects them. Sometimes you'll see 4 of them connected together. As long as there's 1 beam connecting them, they are eighth notes. And we're going to draw a pair of eighth notes in each of these columns. So join me. Let's draw 2 in this one. 2 note heads. Color in. Stems. Beam. And then we need 2 in the next column. 2 note heads, colored in, stems, beam. And then we need 1 more set. So in our final column here, 2 note heads, 2 stems, and a beam. Okay, so now we have our eighth notes. There's 1 more kind of note that you need to know for today. Now there are other kinds of notes that I don't cover in this booklet. We'll cover those another time. The last one we need for today, if you divide eighths, what do you get? Any math whizzes out there? You get 16ths. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna switch back to black for this just because. Okay, so you still have your organizational lines here. You can see that you're writing on the inside of it now. All right, so when we have 16th notes, let's go ahead and write the term first. 16th, T-E-E-N-T-H, notes. Okay, and now you're gonna have to write pretty small. We still have our 4 columns, but in each column you need to fit 4 notes. It looks like this. 1, they're colored in, 2, 3, and 4. They each get a stem, 2, 3, 4, and now it needs not 1 beam, but 2 beams. When you see any number of notes connected by 2 beams, those are 16th notes, even if you see 2 of them or you see more of them. All right, we're gonna put that in each of these columns, so we better get cracking. All right, I've got 4 note heads. Now I'm going to show a little trick for those of you who enjoy drawing a little bit more precisely. I find that if I put the stem on the first one and the last one in the group, and then I connect them with a beam first, then when I draw the other ones, I know how tall to make those lines. It's still not perfect, but that's not important. It's just a little bit neater. Okay, we got 2 sets done. We have 2 more to go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Stem, stem, beam. Connect these stems. Add my last beam. We're so close to being done. All right, here we go. Final column. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, this one looks kind of wonky. I'm going to leave it though. All right. And done.